I'm at the Fort Worth Mustang Show with Camille, which is awesome because I've seen you all over YouTube. I was especially intrigued with your story from last year when you picked up your Mustang while you were pregnant. How far were you?
I was, I think, 8 months.
8 months pregnant.
Picked up, like 6 weeks from my due date.
Yeah, and then you started your horse and you had your baby and you went on to finish training and ended up winning.
Yes.
That was incredible. That was very inspiring. So.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I remember she did a video, you talked about pregnancy as a trainer, which I think is very interesting because I think there's a hole in that area. Not a lot of people talk about pregnancy, horse training, and as a professional horse trainer, how do you juggle that? So
yeah, that's why I wanted to talk about it for sure. Because when I was looking for resources myself, I couldn't really find a lot of information because I feel like, you know, as a mom and as a woman, there can sometimes be like a lot of shame about like doing the right thing. And everyone's got lots of opinions on what you should do and what you shouldn't do and what you should eat and what you should wear. And I think that is a reason why not a lot of people talk about these sorts of things. So I really wanted to share my experience, and hopefully others can draw from that, and make their own decisions that feel good for them.
Right, and you did a great job in that video too, because you really just pointed out that like as your experience and as a trainer, like you feel very comfortable doing those things, and you weren't putting yourself in a position where you felt unsafe. And I think your years of experience and led you to make those decisions. So tell us about this makeover Mustang, Muse. Tell us a little bit about your experience with this horse.
So Muse actually reminds me a little bit of Vienna. They kind of move a little bit similar. They think a little bit similar. They try really hard. They're both very sweet personalities. And the main thing that draws me to them is they're very willing. If I put, you know, a little bit of pressure on with my leg and do something different with my reins, they might not fully understand it right away, but they're always trying to figure out what that right answer is. So to me, that's one of the most valuable qualities in a horse, is a horse that is sensitive and inquisitive and kind of wants to figure out what the right answer is. So they're pretty similar in that aspect to me. I'd say Vienna was a little bit, just like a hair more mature. Muse can sometimes be just like a little bit of a baby, which is super fun. I love baby horses. It can make them more curious, more friendly. She's definitely super outgoing. Everyone that's come up to meet her, she's like right up with them and ready for their cuddles. But it does have challenges as well.
What makeover number is this? I know this is the Fort Worth Mustang Show, but how many makeovers have you done? Depends
what you count. I've done 5 of the 100-day makeover challenges that anyone can apply to do. But I've also done the Mustang Magic, which is the invite-only trainers challenge. And then I've also done the EXCA Mustang Race twice. So that is a division specifically designed for recently gentled Mustangs.
What got you into Mustangs?
So I knew some people who had done it in the youth when I was younger, and that's kind of where I first heard about it, because my little sister Ellen, she's competing this weekend as well. We ended up getting her first horse, and he was a Mustang, and we knew nothing about Mustangs. So we started asking around the people we knew, like, what do you know about Mustangs? And that's when we kind of first heard about the Mustang makeover, and I was like, wow, that is really cool, but I bet only the coolest people ever like are able to sign up for that, and you've got to be so good at training horses to be able to sign up for that and actually get one riding in that time frame. And so it was kind of like, oh, kind of like untouchable dream for me at first.
Wow.
And I had a horse, but he ended up passing away, and he was a really great horse. And after he passed away, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was horse shopping a little bit, just starting to think about getting back into it. And I was looking at horses, and I was like, you know, I could buy one that's like trained and rides one-handed and does the spins and the stops and all the cool things. And I was like, but then what do I do with it? You know, like there's nothing left to do if it's already been trained. And it, like, obviously that's not true. There's always stuff to learn and new goals to set. But back then I was just like, I don't want that. I want to start from the beginning and go all of the way and like learn how to teach these things. And so I ended up adopting my first Mustang, Aurora. She was sale authority.
Were kind of learning how to train.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely had an interest in being a horse trainer, but like I didn't grow up with horsey parents. I didn't grow up with horses in my backyard. I didn't get my first horse till I was 16.
Yeah.
And so I kind of felt like, well, if I'm not born into horses, I can't be a horse trainer. If I haven't been riding since I was 2 years old, I can't be a horse trainer. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to adopt my own Mustang and then just see what I can do with her. And I made so many mistakes, so many like embarrassing moments and things I would never do again because I just didn't know any better. Eventually found my way along with her, started her under saddle, got her going walk, trot, canter. And of course I could only bring her along to where my knowledge was. So I kind of like taught her to walk, trot, canter, stop, side pass, and do a little pivot. And I was like, I don't know if there's anything left to teach a horse. Like there was definitely nothing left I knew how to teach a horse. So I was like, I'm going to sign up for a makeover because I've been able to teach all these basic things. So I signed up and did my first makeover in 2018. I brought a horse who was really broke. She didn't have the fancy buttons because like I said, I didn't know the fancy buttons yet, but she could walk, trot, canter, stop, side pass, and spin. So I was like, I've done it. I've trained a horse.
Yeah.
And then I ended up, finding different ways to build and increase my knowledge and educate myself. And, the more I learn, the more I can teach a horse. So it's kind of an addicting journey.
Who did you learn from or who inspired you in your learning journey?
Let's see. I never really had a mentor. That's another thing that I kind of felt set me back a little bit. I would say getting into Mustangs, I looked up to people like Mustang Maddie, Elisa Wallace, all of these like household names. I looked up to them. I wanted to be like them. I'd watch their videos. Like anyone on YouTube that had Mustang in the title, I'd watch their videos and just try to absorb as much of that knowledge as I can. And I think that's what inspired me to start taking videos and putting things out there. And I just kind of did it as entertainment first. I was like, I'm not a trainer, but I like filming myself. I like sharing that. And eventually it turned into people asking for more videos. How do you teach this? How do you teach that? And that's, I think, kind of what led me to want to build on that and build a YouTube following, which is kind of fallen away a little bit as life has gotten busy. I don't put out as many videos as I used to, but I definitely want to get back to doing some more of that.
My goodness. Well, that's crazy. I did not know your story before that. So training a Mustang was your first training experience?
Yeah, pretty much. That was the first horse I started under saddle, was my first Mustang. With my horse I'd owned before, I'd always had an interest in training. So he was pretty broke, walk, trot, canter, trail horse, but like I went and taught him some showmanship stuff, taught him how to trot in hand, taught him how to pivot in hand, side pass in hand, do a couple little tricks. I've always had an interest in trick training, and so kind of started learning how to train there, like what pressure and release is, what positive reinforcement is, what negative reinforcement is, all the like basic things from there. And then as I got better at riding, my riding instructor started, putting me on the more difficult horses, the ones who would like act up or just test you, and I don't want to do that today. And so I started learning how to work with them, learning how to get them to want to do what I was asking of them. I restarted an Arabian, and then after that I was like, okay, I'm ready, I'm going to do a Mustang. I was not ready. I didn't even know the things I didn't know, but went in, jumped off the deep end, and somehow made it through.
Wow. So what advice would you give your younger self if you were to do this all over again?
Wow, I would say find a mentor. My riding instructor at the barn, I would say she was pretty good at, helping me achieve those things. But I also had kind of a stubborn mentality back then of, I want to learn how to do it myself. I want to learn by trial and error. I want to figure things out for myself. I don't want any secrets. I don't want any cheat codes. And I would definitely say that slowed me down some. If I'd been more willing to let somebody come in and teach me and have somebody, kind of in my back pocket at the very least to say, well, that is not even anywhere close to the way you're supposed to do things.
Right,
I definitely think that would have just sped me along so much more. But I also think being able to put it together by myself has given me some good experience as well. Sometimes the best lessons learned are the ones that
right.
that would have been easily avoided if I'd had someone telling me, well, don't do it that way. Now I know why we don't do it that way.
Well, sometimes I think learning through failures or learning through the wrong decisions can be a very thorough teacher.
I'm definitely big on that.
Yeah. So I know you teach lessons, you have client horses. Are you also mentoring people now at this stage of where you're at?
I really would like to. We just bought our first property this summer, and we've been working on getting it up to par. And I really have a passion for giving people the help that I didn't really have. Even younger than when I started in horses, if I had had someone that like I knew or my parents knew that could have, brought us in, because me and my little sister, we always loved horses, but our parents were city folk. And so if we'd had someone close by right there that we could have reached out to kind of drag us in, that would have I think sped things along quite a bit. But I'd love to reach out to people, love to offer internship programs, love to get back onto making some more YouTube videos. And I definitely have a passion for teaching. And I think part of that is not growing up with, like an ideal Mustang mentor. Like my riding instructor growing up had done some Mustangs, but she wasn't really in this world, and I'd like to help anybody who has a very strong passion and willing to back that up with work ethic and determination. I'd be happy to help anyone along their journey.
How did you move from where you were learning to train to now you have client horses? How did you move into like offering those services? Was that intimidating? What are the steps that you took?
It was pretty intimidating. I went to college because if I had done it all over, and like I said, I'd started in the horse industry younger and started training younger, got horses younger, started Mustangs younger, I probably wouldn't have gone to college. I probably would have seen how this trainer thing had panned out. But by the time I was, college aged, I'd trained to buy one Mustang, barely gotten her started under saddle, with lots of trial and error and falling off quite a few times. So I went to college with the idea of, if I'm not ready for a career in the horse industry yet, let's get a job that will pay for me to have a backup horses.
Plan,
So I went to Texas A&M. I went and enrolled in the biology program, and I started doing makeovers in college. I did my first one, brought my horse along and got her there, and she showed good. She loved this environment. She thrived in it. We did a good job. She didn't have any buttons or stuff because, like I said, I didn't know how to do buttons and stuff. So I enrolled in the summer horsemanship program at Texas A&M, and that's where I really attribute my knowledge of teaching more finished maneuvers, better stops, better spins, flying lead changes, more advanced body control and collection, and putting just a lot more polished handle on a horse. My mentor there was Dr. Chelsea Huseman. She's been a fantastic trainer for me and a great mentor in the 2 years that I was involved in that program. And all this time I was taking in project Mustangs, doing the Mustang makeover, the Mustang race, trying to take on as many of these personal projects as I can. I definitely think that was a good way for me to get started, rather than taking somebody else's horse before I had the knowledge to train it. I took my own project, brought it along at my own pace, and wasn't on anyone else's timeline, didn't have to manage anyone else's expectations besides my own. So it gave me the freedom to learn and grow and develop those skills and practice them without so much pressure. And then my junior year, my farrier connected me with a client of his who owned a couple Mustangs locally. And he said, this lady is looking for help with her Mustangs. Their halts are broke. I do their feet, but she doesn't know how to start them under saddle. She wants someone to start them under saddle. Can I give her your number? I said, okay, well, I'll give her my number. I'll go out and meet her. And this was the same time that COVID hit.
Oh man.
And I started working with the horses. I came out and met her, and I was like, yeah, I think I can get your Mustangs going under saddle. They have a good foundation on the ground. I don't think it'd be too hard for me to get them going under saddle and get them where you want them.
Yeah.
So I started training her horses. I'd come to her place. I charged her, I think, $600 a month per horse, which was pretty reasonable.
That's pretty reasonable. Yeah.
So that's where I started out.
Yeah.
And COVID hit, and it actually afforded me a lot more time. I was able to do a couple more projects because school just got easier when COVID hit, because no one had planned for that. Lots of assignments were dropped, lots more free time. That's when I really started building my business and my network. And then by the time senior year graduation rolled around, I was keeping about one client horse in at a time, as well as doing projects. And I felt very confident about starting my business. I had clients lined up and waiting for when I graduated. I graduated and I went straight to work and have been going mostly nonstop ever since.
Wow. Yeah. That's incredible. It's really fun just to hear your background, like coming from a non-horse family. How do you juggle being a professional horse trainer now with being a mom?
Yeah. Well, I have the best baby in the world. He's incredible. He's very easygoing. I think if I had like a colicky, fussy, antisocial baby, I think it would be a heck of a lot harder. But I kind of threw him in the lifestyle pretty much as soon as he came out. I had Vienna, my makeover horse at the time. I didn't ride her before I gave birth. I have to give credit to my little sister, Ellen. She, under my guidance and me breathing down her neck and telling her every little thing to do, she started Vienna under saddle before I had William. I would come out and sit in my little chair and put my feet up on the round pin and watch her working Vienna, getting her started under saddle. And Ellen did a great job listening, and only sometimes getting really frustrated with me, telling her every little thing to do. And then, of course, after having William, healing up, sitting there watching, I'd bring him out there and I'd have him with me on my lap, bouncing him or feeding him or rocking him to sleep, watching Ellen work and yelling at her. Not too much, hopefully she's not too traumatized. And then when it came time for me to be able to ride, we'd take turns. Ellen might warm up the horse, and then she'd come down and she'd hold William and she'd rock him and she'd walk him around.
So she was incredibly supportive.
Oh, Ellen was the best. I couldn't have done that makeover without her. I don't think I've ever given her as much credit as she deserves, but she was the best. Just a super trooper, ready to do whatever needed to be done. And so I definitely couldn't have done it without my support team. But I've been bringing William to the barn since he was 4 days old and we got out of the hospital. And so I definitely believe you don't change your life to fit a baby. You bring the baby into your life and make them a part of what you do. And so he's been going to horse shows since he was like 2 weeks old, and he now says, "What?" Cutest thing ever.
That's so cute.
So he's just kind of become a part of what we do.
Hey, that's going to be the dream childhood, man.
I know.
That's fun.
That's a passion for me too. Is I didn't get to grow up around horses, and God willing, William will have the passion that I do, or at least a moderate interest in it. And
well, you've got your husband now competing in this makeover.
I know. Yes, Connor. This is actually his very first horse show.
His first horse show, and it's doing the makeover. Wow.
And they've done a really good job. They've been like sitting 14th the entire time. I think they placed like around 14 in all their classes, and then they came out like 14th overall.
That's amazing.
So that's his lucky number. And he's done a really good job with his mare, and she's been so good to him. And everyone in the stands, he gets the loudest cheers. Because they know how hard he's worked for this. And coming from never training a horse before, like he's ridden some of mine. He had a little project he did last year, and we got her going further under saddle. This is his first horse that he's trained from wild to under saddle, kids ride her. He does this deal where he stands up on her back and he waves slicking around, and he just goes in there and he has more fun than anybody else.
That's amazing. Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I definitely suggest Camille's channel. Do you have any other social media or website?
I have, you know, the YouTube channel's got a lot of older videos on it, some kind of newer. Looking to get back into that as life settles a little bit more. You know, William's getting just easier and easier all the time to be around the horses and stuff. So that's giving me some of my time back. Moving to our new facility and getting it set up the way we like is getting some of our time back. And so Camille's Mustangs, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, sometimes TikTok. Trying to be with the cool youngins.
So, well, great. Definitely check Camille's channel out, and I'll see you guys later.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Camille.
Bye.